Hey guys, so today is going to be my January wrap up and I wrote over 20 books. This is one of my best months. I have some physical books here. There's a lot. Let me see if I can show you. Oh my gosh. So I'm really excited. I read some pretty amazing books this month, so let me share them with you.
About to leave, already packing.
So I just grabbed the historical romance stack of books that I read. I read at least 5 historical romances this month, which is so good for me, and I'm so happy about that because I wanted to make it a goal, especially for the new year, to read more historical romances, and so I definitely did that this month. And I'm just loving historical romances right now, so maybe that's why I'm in the mood. But one of the books I read was It Happened One Autumn. I'm not going to do this in order of when I read because it's too complicated. So I read It Happened One Autumn sometime this month, and it is the second book in the Wallflower series, or is it just called Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas, and it was so good. I gave this book 5 stars. So the Wallflowers are a group of girls who kind of all made friends with each other, a group of wallflowers, and so they make a big friendship with each other, and so their goal in their friendship is to find each other husbands. So the first book was about Annabelle, and this book is about Lillian. I almost forgot her name. And so Lillian and this other guy, who's actually the brother of the prequels book, and so she gets this like love potion perfume and she puts it on, and her and the hero absolutely hate each other. He thinks she's this American heiress who's super annoying and just too flamboyant and rebellious, and she thinks he's this like tight, like strict person, and I really love that about their relationship. There's some great banter in this book, and so she puts this perfume on around him, and they're all at his estate because it's like they do these estate parties slash like we're going to the country for 2 weeks or whatever, how many weeks they're there. And so she puts it on, and he instantly is like infatuated with her, but he's really just feeling feelings for her, and she thinks it's because of the love potion slash perfume, and it's so funny. There's so many good scenes in this book. I loved it. And so they both kind of have to figure out and comprehend their feelings for each other because they both don't really like each other, but he really likes her, and she's kind of against being with him because she thinks it's all just because of the potion. And it was really good. I absolutely love this book. I read it on audio. It was fantastic. I definitely recommend the audio. And I love this book. It's so good, and the romance was so good. And his like mom was against them being married because she's an American heiress and like doesn't know anything, and so she kind of bribed him, the heroine Lily. She bribed him to get his mother to give them like lessons on etiquette and stuff so that they could find husbands, and it was hilarious, her and her sister. And his mom is really against the relationship because she's an American heiress, and his mom's very like stuck up, and some bad things happen with the mom and the heroine and like the action towards the end. So I highly recommend this book. I absolutely loved it. This next book I read was so good. It's called Silver and Sapphires by Shelley Thacker. And so I found this copy, which I'm so happy about because this is out of print. You can't really find this easily anywhere, so I had to pay like $24 to get this book, but it's so worth it. It was so good. This book, like, it's still the book now, but it's under a different name, and I think they changed it a lot because I was trying to see if it was just a name change, but when I looked at the synopses of both of the books, they were totally different. So this one I loved. It was gave it 5 stars. It was incredible. So, sorry about the glare. So I read this and just absolutely loved it. So, our heroine, it starts off with our heroine on this like ship, and her father is being killed by these English pirates, and so from then on she really hates the English, and so she gets kind of adopted into this tribe in India, and they love her and she loves them, and so she gets this mission to find this Englishman who stole this special jewel to the land of her tribe in India, and so she has to like seduce him to get it back. And so it's really interesting, and she hates English and she's terrified of him, and the Englishman is our hero. And so she first like meets him under the guise of being his like sex slave, and so he's like instantly enraptured with her, and it's just so fascinated by her beauty, and it's all kind of a ruse, but like on her part kind of, and he had just married somebody, but they were killed, and so he's really like not looking for anything romantically, and so they get together in this like room, and she poisons him and leaves him and stole the stone or whatever, the sapphire, and he finds out, and her his brother sees her like in a hallway or something, is like, you know, let's go on the ship because he'll want to see you again, because she's still like his like sex slave in his eyes or whatever, and so she gets on the ship and he sees her and he is furious. It's incredible. He knows that she took the jewel, and it just goes off from there. There's so much action. It really feels like it's like a pirate book, but it's about like an English captain, kind of. He's an English captain. So I love this so much. There's so much action, and he really has to realize that he likes her for her, not just because of her beauty, because he keeps telling himself it's just her beauty and he's a man and that's what's drawing him to her, but it's really just her as a person. So I thought that was really cool, and there was just so much action, which I really loved, and it was fantastic. So definitely go check this one out. I found this copy on Amazon. I think there's some on Thrift Books, but some of them were in like, it had like a parentheses in a different language. I was like, that seems kind of sketch. So because I don't want to get this book in a totally different language and then I'm like mad that I spent like $10, like, you know, an amount of money on something that I can't read. So this next book I read on audio and I really liked it. I gave this 4.5 stars, run up to 5. And that's In Bed with the Devil by Lorraine Heath. I have been really enjoying Lorraine Heath's writing, and so this one, I'm trying to, oh yeah, okay, now I remember what it is, because I read this earlier in the month. So our heroine, she wants to make a deal with the hero, because she wants somebody dead, and he's like known for being like that guy you go to in like aristocracy, I think that's how you say it. And so she goes to him and is like wanting him to kill somebody for her, because that person is hurting somebody that she loves and is abusing them. And so, well, I'll only do it if you help my like betrothed learn how to be a woman in society. And so she's like, okay. And he ended up, when she first met him, he ended up kissing her, and sparks flew, and they really had this great chemistry. And so he's warring with his feelings for the heroine and the other woman that he wants to become his wife, but the woman that he wants to be his wife is really just a friend to him, but he feels like they would be perfect for each other, but like you can tell that not really. And so it's really fantastic. But she has to, our heroine, like war with the feelings inside, like, I don't want to be your mistress, I want to be your wife. I just want to be with you. I don't want you to be with this other woman. And he still is like holding on to the idea that, you know, he's meant to be with the other woman, but like he's not truly in love with her. He just has like a fascination with being with her for some reason. And I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of action towards the end with like the person he was supposed to kill. And I thought it was really good and angsty. So definitely go check it out. It was really good. Next book was probably one of my favorites of this month, and that was A Reckless Match by Kate Bateman. This is the first book in a new series of hers, and it was just so good. So I give this one 5 stars. Our hero and heroine, the premise of the story is that both of their families for I think like centuries, or maybe like hundreds of years, I don't remember if that means centuries, but they've hated each other, and so they both live on like our neighbors kind of, and so they had disputed over this one piece of land for a while, and so now it's their like shared land. And so every year somebody from each family has to go to the land and shake hands so that they know that you know, that's our land together, and if one of them doesn't show up, then they lose that land to the other family. And so that is our hero and heroine. She goes to the strip of land to meet with the hero, but she doesn't know it's the hero. And so they were also like childhood like enemies. And so when he sees her for the first time after years of being in the Navy, I think, or yeah, I think it's the Navy, he's like, oh my gosh, she got really cute. And he's like, I want to mess with her. I want to, you know, like spend my time with her. And so they kind of go on this like crazy adventure, because on the land they find this cave that has this hidden treasure. So they're trying to protect the treasure and find out who put it there. So it's really interesting and fun, and in the process they fall in love. And so I really enjoyed it. It's like hate to love, fun banter, super action packed, and it was really good. So definitely go check this one out. This next one I read was on audio, and I think it was one of my first reads of January, and that's Mr. Impossible by Loretta Chase. So this was my first Loretta Chase book ever, and I really enjoyed it. I listened to this on audio, and so this is not in England, this is in Egypt. And so our heroine, she is with her brother, and she really knows a lot of stuff about the culture in Egypt, and a lot of stuff about the pyramids, and how to read like certain things there. And so like I think it's called, I don't remember what the specific name is. Oh my gosh, it's in the back of my mind, but I cannot remember for some, like the writing on the walls and stuff. Hieroglyphs, that's what they're called. And so her brother gets like kidnapped because they think these like people from France think that he knows how to read hieroglyphs, but he doesn't. It's actually her. And so she kind of enlists the hero, who is this kind of rakish, like rebellious man, to help find her brother. And so they go on this crazy adventure trying to find her brother and save him, and they fall in love in the process. It was so good. I gave this one 4 stars though, because of the portrayal of the Egyptian people and how the hero really perceived them. It was not good. Like, I'm not gonna say any like references to what he said, but just the view of Egyptian people was very negative, and kind of perceived them as like not smart, or not as good as like the Europeans, and I really did not like that. So that's why I gave this one 4 stars, but the romance was just so good. I really loved it. So definitely go check it out. I do really recommend the audio. It was really good. Okay, so now we're getting into some of my paperbacks. So the first one is The Heir by Sophie Lark. I just finished this last night, so February 1st now, and this was so freaking good. Gave this 5 stars. It is a like mafia college friends to lovers romance, and so our hero and heroine have been best friends ever since they were young. They're technically like they're cousins, but not by blood or anything. and their parents are really close. So that's how they became really close. And so they're both headed off to this really crazy, dark Victorian, like, college, university for mafia children. And so it's really interesting. And so when they get there, they have to like travel on a boat and all this crazy stuff to get to the college. It is on like this like island in, I think, Croatia. And so when they get there, they see this guy named Dean, and Dean is the hero's cousin, but Dean absolutely hates the hero and his family because of stuff that they, like, their parents did to his parents and stuff, and his parents did to our hero's parents. So they absolutely hate each other. And so Dean, when he sees our heroine Anna, he is just instantly obsessed. He's kind of like he's kind of a psychopath, honestly. He's a very dark character, but I really loved him. And so we get that POV of Dean in this book, and it was so good. It was so action-packed. They had to go through so many different things. There are these challenges that they have to do to be like the best there, and so the hero does that, and Dean really tries to sabotage their romance, like the hero's and the heroine's romance, because he wants to be with Anna. And so he does some pretty bad stuff to get what he wants, but he doesn't in the end, so he has his own book. And when they finally realized that they really loved each other, it was just amazing. And I really love this book. I want to read the second book so bad now. Like, what I mean is Anna and the hero finally realizing that they love each other, because they'd always been such great friends and loved each other that way, but they kind of grew their romance and relationship for each other, and it was just so fantastic. And he is a virgin hero, so I absolutely love that in this book. And so it was fantastic. So this next book was another book that I really loved this month, and that was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This one took me a while to get into, but I ended up really enjoying it, and it was such a great slow burn sapphic romance. And so our heroine, she just moved to New York City, and she doesn't really know what to do with her life. She's in college, but she doesn't really know where she wants to go with that, and what her major is, and what she wants to do with her life. And so she moves into this new apartment with these crazy fun roommates, and so she's like having fun with them. And then she gets on the subway and meets this super hot girl who she's like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. She wears a leather jacket, she has short hair, and she later finds out that she is a ghost from the 1970s. So it's pretty interesting. There's that paranormal aspect. And so throughout the book, she's falling in love with our other heroine, and they could only meet on the train. And so they're falling in love while they're also trying to figure out how to get her back, and she doesn't remember anything from her past. And so she's like bringing different things to the subway to see if they'll get her to remember things like food, different scents. It's really interesting, and I just love this book. I loved her roommates. They were so fun, and they all were so unique. I really loved that, and I loved their romance. It was so slow burn and sweet. They both really loved each other and had feelings for each other, but they were both too scared to admit it to each other. And like, they both had like been putting out feelers for the other person. The other person was totally like blind to it, so it was pretty funny. But I love this book. Highly recommend. Okay, and so the next 3 books that I read were a part of a series, so I'm just gonna like describe the first one, and that's it is the Stay With Me series by Nicole Fiorina. I don't really know how to hold all of these because they're super slippery, and I loved the series. Of course, it was so fantastic. This is the first book, Stay With Me, and so our heroine, she has a lot of problems with herself and just her life because she had a lot of trauma from her childhood, and so her parents are like, I'm done, because she keeps rebelling out, and so they're like, I'm done, we're gonna send you off to this kind of school slash like mental hospital place in England to get better. And so she goes and she meets this guy named Oliver, and she instantly is like, oh my gosh, he's so cute, I really like him. And well, Oliver is more into her than she's into him at first, because he's there because he feels too much, and so he kind of like professes his love to her throughout the whole series, and he like will die for her, like it's like hardcore. And I just loved how much he loved her, and there's some crazy action that happens in these books, and they just feel so much for each other, and I absolutely loved it. There's some angst in the beginning. I think my favorite book is the first book, just because I like when the relationship's new. By book 3, I was kind of like, meh. Like, I'll talk about that in a second, but I love this book so much. It was so freaking good. It was crazy. Some crazy things happened, some plot twists in the later books happen, so I highly recommend it. This couple in this series is just so addictive. And then the second book is really, really good too, because they get parted, and so some things happen with that, and they're like, how can they survive their romance and their relationship. And then by book 3, I was like, this is dragging out too long. Like, we don't need this much. I think the author just loved this couple so much and wanted them to just keep having as many books as possible, but it was not necessary. So I still really love it. I love the first 2 books. The third book wasn't necessary, but it was just them together kind of happy. There was some side action going on because Oliver got in a little bit of trouble, but I love this series. It's so good, so definitely go check it out. It's amazing. Okay, so the next books are books that I did not have in paperback. I either read them, well, I think all of them, I read them on my Kindle. So the first book was Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This was my first read of January, and guys, I absolutely loved it. It was so freaking good. One of the best books of 2022 for me. It was just incredible, and so it's very taboo. So our heroine, she hates her sister's fiance. They've always like hated each other ever since they were young, and so it's the night of their, I think, engagement party, and so they leave already, and she's kind of like stuck there, and so she reluctantly calls him like, hey, can you give me a ride? And he's like, sure. And so I think you guys can hear there is a plane outside, but so she reluctantly calls him to pick her up, and so he comes, and there's this like weird guy hanging around her. And so he's like, you know, let's go. And the guy's like, are you two together? And they're like, no, we're not. And so he kind of like smiles and has like a creepy glint in his eye. And so on the way home, I think they get into a car crash, and somebody's there like pulling them out, and it's the guy at the bar. And so he kidnaps them and puts them in his basement for 2, maybe 3 weeks, I think. And so it's very, very traumatic and really bad. Like, it was very dark. So in that basement, they go through so many hard things. Like there is trigger warning for rape and sexual assault, and it was really hard to read at some points, but I just loved it so much. And so they kind of end up having this unbreakable bond from being in that situation together, and when they get out, they have these feelings for each other, and he is engaged, and so she feels like absolutely horrible and so guilty for feeling this way about her sister's fiance, but also she just can't help it. And so it becomes this like angsty romance, and it's so freaking good. I absolutely loved it. 100% go check it out. 5 stars. So amazing. And then the next book I read was Forbidden Flame by Kat Taylor, And so this is just a fun novella. There is no HEA though, and it was only 50 pages. And I think, if I remember correctly, so Kat Taylor is the another author pen name for Katie Robert. And so Kat Taylor, she specifically made this person, or this writer, up to write quick novellas, fun, steamy romances that don't have an HEA. And so this one was about a boyfriend's dad, and she gets with her boyfriend's dad, but she's still dating the boyfriend, and is on this like trip to like maybe the Bahamas or something. I don't know. Like they're at a beach house, I think. But it was really hot and steamy. I give it 5 stars. I really, really liked it. And it was just short and fun, and I liked it didn't have an HEA, but it kind of alluded to one, so I really enjoyed that one. And then I read Beautiful Nightmare by Gianna Darling, and this was really good. I gave this one 4 stars though, but I have been dying to read this one ever since reading the first book. So this is the second book in her Guardian/Ward romance, and I really did like it. So it picks off right off from what happened in that book, but there was something in the beginning that I was like really confused about. If any of you have read this yet, definitely let me know about it, but I was like confused why there was a scene with the hero and his dad. I was like, I was really confused, like did I miss something? And so the book is majority of the heroine just staying away from the hero because he hurt her so bad, but it was kind of annoying because I felt like I understood where she was coming from, but also like what is going to happen with the rest of the book. I wished that there was more development in their relationship and they were more kind of together, and there was a lot of action towards the end. But I did enjoy it. I really do love Gianna Darling. This is a higher 4-star for me, but still I just wished that there was more development in their romance. Not that their romance was undeveloped, but like I wish they were just together more and kind of figure stuff out, because I felt like there was way too much of them just not being together, like being apart, and it got kind of annoying. But I did really enjoy it, and I definitely recommend this duet. It's really good. And then the next book I read was Ruined by M. O'Keefe, and this is actually in the world of Beautiful Nightmare, because it's like this, it's with Dangerous Press. It's like their world building with all like the Morellis and the, I can't remember what the other family's name is, but that world. And so this was about a woman, and she was in a really abusive relationship with her husband, and she finally gets out of that, and so she meets this guy who is like a bodyguard for the woman Caroline, if you know from that series. And so she sparks up a romance with him. It was fine. I didn't really enjoy it that much. It was kind of short, and it didn't really fulfill me. It was just fine. I can't remember what I thought. I just don't remember, but I just remember it being okay. And then the next book I read, well, I DNF'd it, and that was Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. So I have been following Victoria Aveyard on TikTok and just following her for a really long time. Well, not that long, but like in the past year. And I really enjoy her as a person, and I really like her personality, and so I was like, oh, her book sounds so good. And so I tried to read it, and her writing was just a lot, like very confusing, kind of hard to read. I couldn't picture the details. It was just not right for me right at that moment. I don't know if I'll ever pick it up again, but I just couldn't get through her writing, and I was like on page 20, I'm like, I can't do this. It's like a 500-page book. So I have her other book, Red Queen, so I might try that, but that book wasn't for me. Like the beginning is this battle scene, and I was really confused like what was happening. You're just kind of dropped into the story, and there was like a lot of info dumping, so I just didn't really enjoy it. Then the next book I read was Seducing My Guardian by Katie Robert. This was a fun, short 100-page novella, and so it is a Guardian and Ward romance, and so the heroine has been waiting for like 8 years or something to finally get with her guardian, and it's really hot and steamy. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars, maybe 5, I can't remember, but it's really, really good. One of her better novellas. I really enjoyed it. And then the next book I read was The Past by Cora Riley. I think I gave it 3 stars. I was in the mood for a good angsty mafia romance because I remember that they get into a fight, and I remember from one of the books, like from the other books. But then it was just retelling me what already happened in the past books, like their relationship from then, from their last book together, which was the first book. And I found that really boring. Like, I kind of hated it. And then it kind of picked up, but then I got super annoyed with Luca because he was being so dumb in like the last part of the book, because it was like a big miscommunication thing, and he just like threw Arya aside and was like bad, and she never really stood up to him. Like, she was just this like soft character. She really never had anything for herself going. So it was just okay. I think I gave it 3 stars. And then the next books I read, I don't know what to say about these. I don't know what my defense is for reading these, but that's The Wild of A.K. Webster. So I read this and I gave it 5 stars. It was good. I don't know. It's a very, very, very dark and taboo read. Very, very dark and taboo. It's banned from Amazon. I had to buy it from K. Webster's website. But I liked it, kind of. I don't know. I don't know what to still feel about it. But, so anyways, this book is a father-daughter romance. And, I'm going to give you a spoiler, so if you don't want to listen, but it's a good spoiler, so you might want to listen. They're not actually related, but it's still, like, yeah. So, this book, our heroine, they, in the family, like the mom, the dad, and the daughter, which is the heroine, go off into the woods to, like, kind of get away because they've dealt with a lot of hardship. And so something happens, this like tragic thing that happens in the woods where the mom is gone and it's just the daughter and the dad, and she's, I think, 16 and he's like really old, like 35 maybe, I don't know. But they kind of have this weird chemistry happening. They get together. I read this in like one night because I was so intrigued, but I still don't really know what to feel about it. I read the second book, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But yeah, I kind of liked it. I don't know. The next book is The Free by K. Webster, and I really did not like this book. I'm going to give another spoiler, so if you don't want to listen, but it's kind of a good spoiler. There's a plot twist where they are where you find out that they are related. So it is incest in this book, like real incest. And so this book is about our heroine. She has been really abused by her father and her brothers, and they've always lived in the forest. And so they end up dying, and she's left on her own. And so she gets this like big like injury by a bear. And so the hero is this guy who's been helping out the couple from the other book in the wild, like giving them supplies and their friends and stuff. And so he sees her get mauled by this bear, and he's like freaks out, and so he like helps her and brings her back to health. So they have a romance, and it was okay. He was really weird and I didn't really like it, so I gave that one 2 stars. And then the next book I read was Splendid by Julia Quinn. I was loving this from the beginning. It was so good, and then it got kind of annoying because the heroine So it got kind of annoying because they just were not, they were like so against being together because of all this like miscommunication stuff, and it got really annoying. But I was loving it in the beginning. It was so fun and steamy and cute, and I loved how the hero protected the heroine. And so, so this book, I didn't even tell you what the book is about, but this book, so our heroine, she is an American heiress, I guess. And so she's in England living with her cousins, and so there's this big, like, debutante ball thing that happens, and so she is, like, helping people in the kitchen, and so she goes out to get some eggs, and she like saves this boy from getting hit by like a carriage or a wagon or whatever. And so she like falls to the ground, and the hero sees her and like saves her. And It's really good in the beginning because he's just so protective of her, and it's not like gross protective, but it was really good. And they have this like hilarious banter, and when he finds out that she is not a maid, he's like, oh my gosh, we can finally be together. So I really liked the beginning, but then it kind of got bad towards the end because they were finally like, okay, I want to be with you, and then there was a lot of miscommunication and just annoying stuff happening. So that's why I gave it 3 stars, but I do really love Julie Quinn, and I want to finish the Bridgerton series. So yeah, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It's going to be a longer one because I read a lot of books, but I had a really good reading month, and I'm so excited for February. I'm ready to read all of the fantasy romances I want, especially the new Sarah J. Maas. I'm like dying inside, waiting till I get my hands on it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Definitely down below in the comments, let me know what your favorite book has been this past month. I think my favorite was Still Beating. I really love that one. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes.